Hi, Jackie here from B3 Massage and Movement, and today we have expert running coach Chris Taylor from Running Domain coming on to share with us 3 tips if you're running your first marathon. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today. Firstly, can you tell us a bit about you and your background in running?
Okay, well, I'm a recreational runner. I've never been a competitive runner, never been a member of any athletics clubs, never played sport as a kid. Basically got into running in my mid-30s when I emigrated to Australia, found myself in a company where there was a few runners and joined them to do things like Corporate Cup and the City Bay. And just potted along, did a couple of half marathons, those kinds of things. Was, a reasonable runner, but nothing very special. I was always reasonably competitive, but not at that top level. And I ran like that for many years. And then I went through a bit of career change. And one of the things, because of my love of running, I became a personal trainer, worked in a gym for 8 years. And I'm not a big guy, I don't have the tats, so I was always the skinny little guy. So, the thing that I specialised in was endurance and specifically running. So I took running as my thing. And decided I had to get serious about it. So I got a little bit more serious about it, did some training, joined a running group, made a few friends who were better than me, who I struggled to keep up with initially.
It's always good.
It's great, it's one of the best things to drag you along. But with their help I got better and kind of moved up a couple of grades. And then kind of got reasonably good at it. I basically did one marathon just to tick the box, so the people I was training, I could tell them all about how to train for a marathon. And I was only ever going to do the one marathon, but 6 weeks later I did my second marathon, because the first one, I was told all these horror stories about how awful it would be and how I wouldn't be walking for weeks afterwards, and it wasn't that bad. I quite enjoyed it, so I did more. And today I've done probably about 40 marathons, and about the same in half marathons. In terms of my personal best, not that these really matter, as a recreational running is all about running. And everyone whether you're a 5-hour marathon or a 3-hour marathon, it doesn't really matter. But just for the record, my personal bests are, as a marathoner, I'm a 2:41 marathoner. I won 116 half marathoner and a 42-minute City Bay.
Awesome.
So that kind of level.
Yeah.
So that's reasonably good. It's not that top level, but it's pretty
it's pretty good.
And I'm an old guy, so that kind of helps as well.
So you're the right person to answer the questions today.
I know a lot about it. I've been running a while and I know lots of stuff about it.
Cool. All right. Well, we have at B3 a lot of runners that come through here, from beginners to elite and everything in between. And I guess one thing remains the same, and that is we all want to know what we can do to get better or to feel better during our training and running. So what are the 3 main tips for anyone who's out there training for a marathon?
Everyone worries about getting a plan, and everyone goes out and I have to have a plan. Now, really, a marathon is a long-term project, and it's good to have a plan. I'm not saying plans are bad, but people pick up these 12 weeks to run a marathon or 16 weeks to run a marathon, and really, if you're setting yourself up for a marathon, I reckon you need to probably do a year of half marathons, and then in your second year, try for the marathon. I think you can get away with doing a marathon, and I've trained people who do a marathon within, maybe start in January and do a marathon in the August-September timeframe. But it's very tough. It's a lot of running to fit into a very short time, and there's a high risk of injury when you do it that way. So it's better if you can take your time and build a bit of a base. And when people talk about running, they talk about building a base. And the base is just getting used to running, getting the muscles right, getting your lungs working, finding that rhythm, conditioning, magic word. So take your time, don't hurry, basically. It's a long-term project, you need to give yourself time, don't try and rush it. So that's my number 1 tip, is not to go too far, too fast, don't squeeze it all in. Give yourself enough time so that you can do it, you can build yourself up gradually, there's no pressure, you're not going to injure yourself, and it makes it more relaxed and a much more enjoyable process.
Exactly.
And hopefully you're going to enjoy this. I know for some people, like they enter the New York Marathon, which is, people are box tickets. But if you're going to enter the New York Marathon, you need to start training in January, not start training in September for a November event. So, and some people do that, but the longer you give yourself, the more comfortable it's going to be. So my second tip would really be not to worry about speed. And everyone's very conscious about, I'm not running fast enough and I need to run faster. So everyone gets into doing speed work. And if you read the running magazines, speed work is what sells magazines. You know, they have these sessions are going to make you faster, better, remarkable runner. And the reality is that you'll get more speed just by running. The conditioning comes from doing. The magic of running is in the doing. There's no magic in speed work. Speed work is a valuable component to your training, but you need to do it at the right time. So you don't want to get into your speed work too early, because speed work is intensity. And if we start talking about the risk of injury, people talk about how much load you can take. And when you're new to running, you can't take very much load. And load really is distance times intensity. So you can either do short intensity stuff, short distance stuff at high intensity, or you can do long distance stuff at low intensity. But when you try and do long distance stuff, which we'll be doing in a marathon program, and then squeeze in some high intensity stuff as well, quite often that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So really you need to, if you're going to do speed work and you're going to do high intensity stuff, that needs to be when you're already conditioned. That needs to be when you've already prepared yourself, you've already got the muscles in the right place, you've already got your heart and lungs working efficiently, because you're going to be in speed work, you're going to be hitting the ground so much harder. You're going to be putting so much load on your body that if you're not conditioned, you're going to fall apart. So
exactly, that's where the injuries come from.
That's where the injuries come from. So, the second tip is really don't worry about the speed. The speed will happen. And what I've seen, I see it every year when I train people, is that they tell me what their City Bay time was, and they start training for the marathon, and then they do the City Bay just because it's there on the way, or either just before or just after they've done their marathon training, and the City Bay times drop quite a lot, and that's not because they've trained specifically for it like they have in previous years. It's just a result of all the training that they've done as part of their marathon training. So the speed comes automatically when you get the conditioning.
Right.
My third tip, and we alluded to this earlier, is running with other people, especially running with other people who are a little bit better than you, because that will help drag you along. And again, I see this all the time. It's the social groups
Absolutely.
that give you, they're the things that will get you up in the morning when you want to lie in bed when it's raining outside, as the miserable winter we've just had. When you're meeting your friends, that's going to get you out. You're responsible to other people. You're not responsible just to yourself. So. And the coffee afterwards, the conversations, the sharing of the war stories, all of those kinds of things, and sharing other people's experiences. Those are the things that get people through.
Yeah.
So if you can get into a tight group, or and they don't start as tight groups. They start as people who kind of vaguely know each other, or they happen to be in the same group, and they'll run together and they'll be about the same speed, and you'll find that they'll mesh very tightly, and before you know it, they're best buddies, and they'll be in touch for years. But it's those kinds of relationships that running builds, but that are great, but they're also the kind of relationships that will get you through to your marathon the first time
absolutely.
through. So those are my 3 tips. Take your time, don't squeeze the program in too quick. Secondly, don't worry about speed will happen. And thirdly, run with other people.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming along. If you guys found that helpful or would like some more tips, I'm putting his details down below. Chris Taylor from Running Domain. You can get in contact with him and get some coaching if you need to, or find a group through Running Domain, and let us know how you go. Thanks again.